What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Alignment First. Michael Anders here with my buddy Craig Perra. Old titles: CEO, attorney, now founder of the Mindful Habits System. We met at the Dream Team 100 event. Shout out to Sebastian Cruz. What you do, your mission, who you serve, and how you serve became extremely interesting to me as we've had supported clients in parallel from the standpoint of, Next Level represents lifestyle integration and the mindful habits, specifically sex and porn addiction for your clients. There has most definitely over the course of my career been overlap in what you do and the clients we serve. So first of all, like, that is a beast to overcome. And I just want to celebrate you and your mission and your successful system implementation to help people get over addiction in general, but specifically something that is so toxic and potentially ruins relationships.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you, and I want to say my brain, I can't get over means building an identity of healthy sexuality and integrity that sustains, because if we're talking about one of the most powerful forces in human nature, the male sex drive, that's not something we get over. That's something we learn to channel and direct.
Sure. Yeah, they wars have been fought over women. And
empires destroyed, empires built, destroyed.
So walk me through. Let's start here. How does one move from being an attorney into the work that you do?
Yeah, well, it was a dark and stormy night. So I have been struggling with mental health issues and addiction really my entire life. And I was like a lot of my clients on the outside, captain of 2 sports, class president, worked for the mayor, went to a great law school, got a great law job. But there was this dark side, that the sexual beast that started in childhood, rooted in shame, touched by an older neighborhood boy, and this powerful force that we're talking about got corrupted, got stained, and it led to abusive behavior towards my wife, gaslighting, lying, blaming her for our problems, resulting in cheating, prostitutes, using heroin with prostitutes, picking up streetwalker women, poor women on the street, adult bookstores, like shame. And it would always get worse when I was stressed and anxious. And it started to unravel. I got always the comeback kid. I got fired back east for lying to my boss about something stupid. I was assistant general counsel at a $3 billion a year company. There is no room for being out of integrity in the office of the general counsel. Yeah, it was a stupid lie because I was out of integrity. Right, I was acting out. I was all banged up, and boom, I get fired. But I'm the comeback kid. I get a better job. Now I'm running a $1 billion company's compliance department, on track to chief compliance officer. I come out to California and just unravel. I hated my job. Now I felt trapped, Michael. I can't practice law in California. I'm licensed in Connecticut. I'm stuck in this miserable, like the guy I found out before me left after 6 months. He left $30,000 on the table. Like it was not a healthy work environment, but it's all on me, right? Other people managed it. Other people were able to do it. I was not. I unraveled, started messing around with prostitutes. I got addicted to the synthetic stimulant bath salts.
Oh, shit.
And I sunk so low. I got fired. Driving home, I parked my car. I poured all that powder out into a thing in front of me and said, fuck this shit. I want this pain to go away. Everyone would be better off without me. Anyway, a 3-day hospital stay later, here I am.
Somebody find you?
No, I was able to make it home, drive to my psychiatrist, and he said, your next stop is to the inpatient facility, or we have the police come in and pick you up. Which do you choose? And I said, I will go voluntarily.
Yeah. Wow. What is the when I hear addiction, and you would know better than I associate it with a inability to manage compulsive behavior. And maybe that's just a bullet point in addiction.
Yeah.
But why did that in your work on self, what have you come to find that was the result, that became the way you channeled that energy?
Yeah. I love that question. And so that attempt to end it was after years of therapy, years of meetings, years of family of origin, trauma work, the pain, the trauma, the shame. Every new therapist I met would rub their hands together and crack their knuckles and say, there's a lot to do here. We're going deep. And if I could only go deeper and crack open that pain, I finally would be okay. Well, I learned that that's not true for everybody. That's not true for everybody. Not everybody also connects with 12 steps. Not everybody resonates with the principles of 12 steps. So at that low point, I learned that addiction wasn't the problem. Bear with me. It is the solution. Mm-hmm. The addiction is the solution. The numbing, coping, and escaping is the solution to escape from pain. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the problem. It was the solution. I needed a better solution. Mm-hmm. And at that low point, I realized that I had to do something different. I couldn't go the same way that I had been going. And so I found, a non-traditional therapist who didn't subscribe to the disease-based model, and started talking about healthy sexuality for the first time in my, years of therapy and treatment. Started focusing on moving towards something. And actually my therapist at that low point hired me, said, you have a gift. You should do this for a living. My first reaction was, are you insane? Like, I'm an attorney. I need to get a job. I got to pay bills. But I saw that there was a different way. Mm-hmm. And that different way of instead of demonizing these parts and shaming these parts and diseasifying them, at least for me, embracing this principle of self-leadership, which is the cornerstone of the internal family systems model, changed my life.
Dive into that a little bit more. What's the difference between where the direction you went compared to the disease-based model?
Yeah. And let me say this, they are all great. You do, and here's the one analogy I want to say. We know that some people who take antidepressants thrive and do wonderful. We know there's a small segment who actually get more suicidal.
Sure.
And so I like to start with that, Michael, because it's not about better or worse. It's about finding what works for you. And I knew that I needed something different.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you're not married to a particular dogma. That becomes so exclusionary, even though for many it's intended to be inclusive, but you put so many people outside on the outside looking in of a solution that you potentially create bigger problems, especially if they don't have any other source of exposure and they think that you're the only one. Yes. And now we experience this in fitness all the time. You have so many dogmatic protocols that are, macronutrient exclusive or cardiovascular exclusive, strength training exclusive, etc. When, the reality, much to your point, what we say in my world is the most effective program out there is the one that works for you. Point blank, period, full stop.
Yes. Well, I knew I loved you, Michael. I love you even more now because it is such a refreshing thing to say. And listen, when there's dogma, there's blind spots, and
Yes.
you're not meeting people where they are. The statement, and this is going to land tough for some people, but it's okay. The statement, it works if you work it, is categorically false. It does not work for everybody if you work it. What I do doesn't work for everybody if they work it. We're all different. We're all so let's take like the addict part. So take the addict part, right? One of the first exercises I give clients, Michael, instead of telling me the bad parts of their addiction, they've all done that work. They've all quantified the loss. They've all quantified the impact of the divorce, how much time they spent. They've all done that. I go in the other direction and I say, tell me the good parts of that behavior. Tell me the value that you get. And what I'm doing is I'm setting up the reality that all behavior is need-seeking behavior. I don't tell them that yet, but I'm planting that seed that, and then, they wait, what are you talking about? Their first reaction is shock, like, this is ruining my life. My wife wants to kill me. I'm afraid to even do this exercise. Well, then they realize, okay, well, wait a minute. It certainly does help me escape. I do feel better for a moment when, and when my wife gets mad at me, I kind of watch it as a fuck you to her. So yeah, it's doing that for me. It's helping me manage my libido because we do have different libidos. It's giving me a sense of relief, a reward. When I'm camming with the women, I get a sense of significance. When I'm engaging in this behavior, like I'm being flooded with chemicals that are helping me escape the present moment because the present moment sucks. And so I have to numb, cope, and escape. And this behavior is helping me do that.
Oh, wow. What you said earlier just really, really landed for me, connecting those dots between it's all need-based behavior and also the addiction wasn't the problem, it was the solution.
Yes.
How tough was it for you, or is it for your clients to wrap their head around that concept? Is that like a bridge too far in the very beginning, or is it like
no,
once it comes to your awareness, it's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, it is. I start with it because it is a predictor of alignment, and I've gotten really good over the years of helping them get to that place.
Yeah.
So sharing a resource, sharing an article, letting them think about for 24 hours, all behavior is need-seeking behavior. And that sits and that percolates, and they say, well, what about this? Well, and I'll give them an example and explain to them why it was. And then what I also have them do, because the sex stuff is always secondary. So I want them, so they're judging other people. What are the benefits of that? Well, I feel better about myself. I feel vindicated. What about when you get angry at your wife? Well, you have autonomy. You feel righteous. You're communicating your needs in the way that you can't. You're putting your foot down. You're getting significance. So all these habits that they thought of as bad.
Yeah.
I'm now getting them to think about how those habits were trying to serve them.
Yep.
And that's a major, major, major shift.
What I love about this, our approach at Next Level as we build the fittest leaders is one of principle, right? There are universal truths. Like I think beyond fitness and training, nutrition is right there next, side by side with it in terms of the one that causes the most controversy. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what your protocol is. You've got to prioritize protein. Calories in, calories out really matters. You're either in a surplus to gain or in a deficit to lose, right? And then, beyond that, depending on how specific we get with the goal, we're going to start counting macros, right? Those three things are present in any nutrition protocol. So we have to start there and then figure out which one of those works for you. What you're saying to me is, or what I'm taking from what you're saying is very principle based, because if it isn't for these people, if it wasn't sex It would be gambling. It would be alcoholism. It would be drugs. Insert vice here. It just so happens to manifest sexually in these individuals. Am I correct in that?
You are absolutely correct, because for a lot of guys, it was the alcohol, it was the drugs. They've just moved down the hall at the meetings, and so now it's sex.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of those guys are present, and they're all struggling with imposter syndrome, a critic that is really pushing them to be better and find the flaws and drive and be successful. Like, we haven't even gotten to the parts work yet, because when you drop this parts work, it's literally revolutionary. That this is their conditioning. This is how they evolve, their biology, their environment, and it becomes this need-seeking organism. And pain for us, particularly men, is hard. We learn to stuff it down.
Right.
And we get into a relationship and learn, oh, apparently vulnerability is an important attribute to have. Well, I don't even know what the hell that is. And they're people pleasers. They don't want to upset mommy. They don't want to upset dad. They don't want to upset wife. So they don't share. And because their needs don't get met proactively in many areas of their life, sex is secondary. They get met reactively.
Yeah.
And that's where we have to create capacity. Those are the patterns we have to interrupt.
Sure. Now, you say the sex is secondary. What does that mean?
The sex is secondary because none of my clients, Michael, have primarily a sex problem. Now, because of the historic way this problem is treated with the sex addiction model and the porn addiction model, many of them believe that's what they're identifying as that problem. Okay. But if we solve the integrity problem, the lying about it, and if we solve the emotional regulation, distress, tolerance problem, the anxiety, stress, fear, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, childhood trauma. I don't want to make any suggesting that it's easy solving that moment of dysregulation. But the sex is, again, the solution to the pain problem.
Right.
We got to solve the pain problem. We got to treat the pain problem.
What are some of the mechanisms that go into, I feel like healing is the wrong word, but addressing that pain problem? Is it, Dilt's model, in which, the manifestation of your highest and best self is predicated on the foundation of curating your environment and circles of influence for behavior change? Like, where does it start and stop?
So the answer is yes to about any capacity creating mechanism. But so here's where we go. We go from habit cycle. We go from that positive attribute exercise. The next exercise that clients do, because a lot of my clients are executives, they're business leaders, they're athletes, they're successful people who understand systems. And I say, well, when are you most vulnerable? And they realize that the 80-20 rule, if they can bring some structure and discipline, and this is basic, this isn't anything special, but I'm saying, like probably like you said it earlier, like, just because it's basic, I'm not going to ignore the simple stuff. Just like I tell my guy, like, don't pretend you want to be successful if you're not taking care of your body. We can never win this battle if you're putting shit in your body. You can't do it because of the dysregulation effect that it has on mood and the sugar and the insulin and this and that and stuff. You know way better than me. You cannot control yourself.
Yeah.
So to begin interrupting the patterns, we need to know, when are you most vulnerable? What behaviors and belief systems can we stack into that time when you're most vulnerable first, to help you resist, and then second, to reclaim the identity of that space in that time.
Well, we're gonna keep going, but I want to pause right here, because what I like about that is you're not telling to avoid that stuff altogether. it's what do they call that?
Harm reduction or
Exposure therapy, right?
exposure therapy. Yes.
You're creating a more resilient, more tolerant system by virtue of like these like we tell our clients, we're not trying to eliminate friction altogether. That's impossible. However, we're trying to help. We're our mission is to install and replace rituals, patterns, behaviors to create a more resilient system so that you're able to manage that friction more effectively. And by virtue of that, staying on center, in alignment, and moving towards your highest and best self.
Exactly. And so the patterns around when you are most vulnerable, because what that red zone plan does, it creates agency and control. We're creating capacity. It's not going to be perfect. You're not going to get it right the first time. It's any business, as you know, as you grow, you got to pay more attention to the compliance things. They matter when you get to a place where if someone said, "Hey, you're doing it wrong," you got to really serious. So it's back to basics, simple risk management. The next practical mechanism is one of my favorites, is because I have them to start paying attention to their triggers. Track their triggers, their automatic thoughts, how it feels in their body, because this is a body thing. We're not mind body, like come on, like this whole old mind body difference, that's all old school. We don't kick it like that anymore.
Right,
it's in the body, it's in the mind, mind's in the body. So so the triggers, the thoughts, the feeling in the body, and that starts the in the moment distress tolerance skills to learn to interrupt a phenomenon that is never going away. You're never not going to be triggered. You're going to experience great loss, great pain, great suffering in life. What do you do in those moments? So to begin interrupting those moments, let's study them. What happens in those moments?
Okay. I want to touch on shame for a second, because for the client that you describe and the role that they have in society, the executive, the business leader, the athlete, these are people that have, for better or for worse, high status. Yeah, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Does the shame come in because of this narrative that they've created in their own mind, whether it's true or not, doesn't matter, but this narrative that they've created in their mind that I have my shit together, but I also have this impulse that I haven't been able to control, where I have control over everything else in my life. And if I expose that, or I deliberately take the steps to deal with it, I'm admitting then that I don't have my shit together. And is that where the shame creeps in, that creates that deepens the hole?
Yes, absolutely. And Michael, those are the guys we're trying to serve now, because we're trying to catch it early before it turns into shit show. By the time I'm on the phone with them, they are drowning in shame, and that compartmentalization that they had that you just talked about has been shattered. It has bled over. It is causing these impacts. There's someone in their life who is devastated and crushed. And there's someone who is or they've sunk to a new low, a combination of both. But here's the interesting thing about shame. Shame is what is the goal? So if you look at shame like a part, we think, okay, we got this part of us. In the animated series on Netflix, there's a character called the Shame Monster in the TV show Big Mouth, and it's a ghost that haunts everybody and says their darkest secrets into their ears, and it's a beautiful character. Shame is an evolutionary aspect of ourselves that has evolved over time to keep us in the tribe. Shame is trying to protect us. Shame is going to let us know when we're doing things that violate our moral compass, that is in violation of our code, that is something that's going to hurt someone else or something that's going to hurt. So in old way, we suppress shame. Shame is bad. New way, shame becomes our teacher.
Okay. Tell me, expand on that.
Shame. What? First of all, where did shame come from? So we mentioned an evolutionary trait, and you can look that up. Anybody's curious, like, wait, what? Really? Yeah, I thought so too. Look it up. But rooted in our environment, right? We learn, especially shame around sex. Don't look, don't touch, don't do these things that came very natural and very pleasurable to us. In the internal family systems model, shame is called a protector. Shame is trying to protect us from doing things that are going to ultimately result in rejection and abandonment, which is the deepest, corest wound of all wounds. Shame is trying to help, just like addict is trying to help.
So shame is a solution.
Shame is a solution.
Okay. Now, from that model, that thing that was introduced from a cultural perspective, that is a hint as to what that puts the guardrails on behavior, so to speak. If it was designed to serve us, where did it take a turn into something that creates more problems than it protects us from?
Yeah. When we learn in childhood that our mistakes don't mean that we did something bad, our mistakes mean that we are bad.
Okay. Yep.
That's where the conditioning comes from.
What does that different? Let's go parent to child. What does that differentiation look like?
You stupid piece of shit. How the hell could you make that mistake? I told you not to do that again. How many times do I have to tell you, hey man, what happened? Is everything okay? I thought we talked about this. Do you have a misunderstanding? Is there a miscommunication? I thought you said this was important to you. Can we talk about it?
I also feel right here, right now, the energetic differentiation in both those deliveries.
Yeah.
Where are you in how you help your clients around energy? You've mentioned feeling quite a bit in terms of getting in tune.
Yeah.
And we use energy a lot in our practice at Next Level. Like, what does this do? Maybe not necessarily in the here and now, but in the aftermath. What does this do to your energy? Do you feel like you have more, or do you feel depleted? Like, are you having those kinds of conversations to help them tune in with the effects of these addictive compulsions?
Absolutely. If you're not bringing this into your body, and I say this to clients because they'd much rather talk about stuff than the body stuff. I'll say, if we don't bring this into your body, I have failed you tremendously, and I don't like to fail. Where we do that is the container that we do that in is the parts work.
Okay.
So the
part for those who don't know, what is parts work?
So parts work, an example of a part here. Here's an example of parts work is the Pixar movie Inside Out.
Okay.
1 and 2 with the teenage. It was an animated movie, and it was about a teenage girl who went through all these struggles and challenges, and she had these characters in her head. That had different challenges themselves, different belief systems, different experiences, different trainings. It was anger, joy, resentment, boredom, and then later anxiety came on. All these different parts, and they based that on the modular mind theory. So there's some aligning neuroscience here. And there's this internal family systems model, which is the most famous parts work model today. But throw all that neuroscience out, forget it, blah, 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 like blah. Have you ever felt like a part of you took over and made you do something that you didn't want to do? Have you ever gotten angry at somebody? Did it feel like, man, it's like a part of me took over? Have you ever said that to yourself?
Oh yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
That's what this is. This is
Okay.
saying, wait a minute, let's study that part. So if you've got this addictive part that hijacks agency and control in response to this very narrow set of stimuli, because we're paying attention to it. It's not everywhere. It's over here. It's over here. It's over here. That's why you track those triggers. Your triggers awaken your parts. The parts works, Michael, give us a container for all the family of origin therapy work that people do, because now we can ask ourselves, how was addict trained to deal with pain in this way and to hide it and to lie about it and to feel shame about it? So now we can, there's a lot of healing that happens and realizing that, wait, this part isn't trying to do bad. This part is trying to help. So the energetic exchange, the center of the internal family systems model is self-leadership. And at this, what that means is that self is represented in every major faith, every major psychological model, this notion of there being a center, a core, the Holy Spirit, the fingerprint of God, the
source.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like so many different words, right?
Yeah.
That source can help you lead your parts to positive outcomes in healthy, constructive ways, versus shaming them, belittling them, demeaning them. Because when you're in source, when you're in self, you don't do that.
Yeah.
You lead, you love, not belittle, not beneath, not why you shouldn't have felt that way. Listen, that's what mom and dad said to you. Why are you saying it to your part? You did feel that way. Let's explore why you felt that way. So much of a better solution. And that's self-leadership.
Yeah. How challenging is that concept of when you say self-leadership? I look at one of our core values, which is ownership.
Yep.
Integrity, keep the promises that you make to yourself. Courage, do the hard thing. And ownership, hold yourself accountable to not only the result, but also the process. How challenging is it for someone to not only conceptualize, but embrace self-leadership or ownership without swinging the pendulum so far to redirect blame upon themselves, going from I own my role from this moment forward versus everything that's happened to me in this life is all my fault. I feel like I've served clients who have both those perceptions of this concept of ownership.
Well, and listen, I love the premise of owning the outcome. We can own the outcome and we can be 100% with it and own it and wave that flag, but we can't ignore the conditions and the environment and the challenges that led us to this place. So that's the one beautiful thing about parts work is it allows for polarity.
Oh,
I love my wife dearly, and right now I want to scream, slam my hands on the desk, and walk out the door and tell her to go fuck herself. I didn't do that, but I had a part that wanted to because I was frustrated. So it allows for that polarity. Instead of it like all good, all bad, I can say, hey, that part that got defensive, what happened there? Well, you didn't feel seen, did you? She kind of brushed over that thing that you thought was important. Is there a chance she misunderstood? Or how you feeling? Is everything okay? Yeah, man, I'm really sad. I feel really hurt by that conversation. That's self-leadership. Because why did you do it that way? You're a freaking life coach. You should know better. What an idiot. You don't practice what you preach. Now you better go on your podcast and tell them. Because that's what you do, right? You go, you're like, guys, I was a dick today. You got to tell everybody. Go tell them. What the fuck's wrong with you, man? Like, come on. You should know better. How long you been doing this shit? Fake it if you can't make it. Or what happened?
Yeah.
Is everything okay? Because there's a trauma underneath that reaction.
Right.
There's a deep wound. The bigger the reaction, deeper the wound.
Yeah. So here's a question on the wound thing. Cause dude, first of all, I appreciate the fact that you are involved for you in having a mentor, a coach in your life to help Craig with your stuff as you move and serve your mission and serve your clients in the work that you do. I tell people all the time, because as I moved along my journey, I didn't realize how deep my dad's stuff was for me, in that when I got kicked out of school, it created a huge divide between him and I. And then as I reconciled that for me, he was there for the part where I got to start the climb out of the hole. Right. I got the news that I was going to have the opportunity to in process at officer candidate school for the United States Marine Corps. I said, Dad, I did it. I got in. I was accepted. And 5 days later, he died.
Wow.
And he never got to see everything that's transpired since then. Right. And I didn't realize how deep that hit me until I had peeled back enough of the surface level shit to start dealing with that stuff.
Yes.
Right. And in my first plant medicine retreat, that's where it really showed up. And what I was looking for at that time, the first layer of my dad's stuff was, hey, son, I just want you to know I'm proud of you. Right. Well, then the next level was how fucking angry I was at him for missing all these monumental moments. My commissioning, coming home from Afghanistan, getting married, having kids. He missed all that shit. Yeah. Starting my business. All the things, a lot of things that we talked about when I was a kid. He missed it all. Right. And I didn't realize how much anger I was carrying. But I had to get through like, hey, Dad, like I now know that you're proud of me. Cool. Now I need you to know how pissed I am at you. Right.
Yeah.
And then there was a layer beyond, because, as you move through these things, you're like, oh, I'm done with it. I cleared it. We're moving on. And I really enjoy sharing these things with you, the audience, my clients now, because there's layers to it.
Yeah.
And you only have so much room at any given time to unpack, to move through so many layers. So here I am, my dad passed in 2007. It's 2025. And in my most recent work, that shit showed up again. But this time it was me. I was reliving a moment that I had with my dad, but where my dad was 41-year-old Michael talking to 15-year-old Michael.
Wow.
And I got to give myself the wisdom that my dad was trying to give me at that time. And as I'm doing this work, it's just like, man, there it is again. I thought I was done with this. And it's like, once you accept that, hey, whatever shows up is showing up for a reason, the chances of it being the thing you thought it was, and at least in my experience, it's almost never been the case.
No,
because you want it to be like capital T trauma.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, man, like the fact that you walked out on the ceremony is the thing that cut me fucking deep.
Well, your clients, Michael, are so well served. I just, the perspective we talked about in the beginning and what we're talking about now, I'm getting a little emotional.
Feel it, brother. We're here.
Because there were so many times in my life where people led me to believe, and I'm going to own that too, like if I just crossed this line, everything would be okay. All I have to do is unlock this trauma, do this thing, finish this race, and everything would be okay. And that is so not the reality. life is hard. And to your point, exactly what I teach, it comes in layers. And so when you go through that layer, what I tell people is remember the process, because you're going to have to repeat it again. Remember the process, because you're going to have to repeat it again. Because listen, there are a lot of people out there, Michael, maybe listening to us, who haven't started taking that journey yet. And they're men who've only done therapy.
Right.
And therapy is great. And I am so glad and psyched that more men now than ever before are getting help. But sometimes they are led to believe that emotional catharsis moment that they have in therapy means they're good.
Yeah.
It does not mean that at all. That's a good thing. But if you don't build identity reinforcing activities around that, if action does not come from that emotional catharsis, if you don't lead that part that you unburdened in a healthy, constructive way, they come back.
Yeah.
That's how it works. That's the human condition.
Yeah. So when you get somebody who is approaching that emotionally cathartic moment, they're at the precipice, like they're so close to piercing the veil. And in my own work and what I witness with clients, when we get to that point, it's like, oh, there it is. Like, just take one more step. Like, you're right there. Just go for it. And that tends to be the place where like all the fear bubbles up. Like it all shows up right there in that moment. And they're just as likely, if not more, to back off of it than move through it. And I've come to find, now that I know what that moment is for me, like, ooh, shit, if I just move through this right here, right now, there's no telling how much more I can clear beyond it. Yes. Let's go. And now it excites me. Like, I recognize I'm there. I don't question it. Let's rock.
Yes.
For those that are unfamiliar, or those moments are so far and few between that it takes them, it's before they recognize that it's too late. What are some instruments, some methods that would encourage someone to lean in and pierce that veil when they show up?
Yeah, great question. I'm tempted to say a couple things. One, the old Craig was the pusher. You're on the deep end. I'm going to push you to jump in, and we're going to go there, and I got you. And that was great, and that was very effective, and that certainly gave people these emotionally cathartic experiences. It didn't help them for what to do next time. Yeah. So the parts work model is, we certainly want to celebrate that emotional experience, but the self-leadership that comes with coming up to that precipice and fearing to take that step, we're analyzing that, we're studying that, we're insatiably curious about what belief systems and conditionings are leading you to this place, and even challenging the notion that they're jumping off a cliff, because they're certainly not. They're just taking another step into their truth, into themselves.
Yeah.
Like they're like in the Matrix, there is no spoon. So challenging that, but exploring the parts that are getting in the way, the barriers to that next step, that non-pathologizing, blaming, nurturing, curious, kind approach, I have found to be so much more effective to sustainability, because now the client has tools that they can use when that moment of conflict comes again.
Yeah.
Or when that precipice comes again.
We've been conditioned. I don't want to say taught. I think this is more learned than it is imparted upon us, like more observed and caught than it is like deliberately, this is the way it is. We've been so conditioned to not feel, to not be in tune with our, who has come into my sphere a lot as of late are somatic practitioners, right? Getting back into your feeling world, right? And what is so interesting to me, I pay huge attention to word codes,
Mm.
So when I ask somebody, how do you feel, very intentionally, how do you feel about XYZ? And they start telling a story. It's like, no, you're not answering my question. How do you feel? And then all of a sudden they whatever was locked and loaded, ready to go and respond, like dies on the vine. And it's like, oh, and then it becomes, and we're talking about just like normal conversation type stuff. Like the stakes are super low, and yet it becomes this really introspective thought experiment. Like, oh, how do I feel about whatever it is in your practice, either on self or with clients? Do you notice that same phenomenon that like we lack the ability because we don't flex that muscle enough to truly feel our life's experience?
It is the disability, Michael. It is the, maybe there are a few the problems. It is the problem. Their inability, their incapacity to feel, to sit with those feelings. And while it may feel like a low-hanging fruit, I want to offer this other perspective. It is literally responsible for the increased male suicides. That reason, our inability to feel is responsible for the increased deaths that men have because they don't go to the doctors when they know something's wrong in their body, where they don't share with friends why we're in the middle of a male loneliness epidemic. I believe that while it may feel like an easy thing to do, it's not. And it's so awesome that you're helping your clients sit in that discomfort in a safe container. Be like, wait a minute, I don't have words right now. And I'm like, good, perfect. That's the best answer I've ever heard all day. I love it. You're not telling me what I want to hear. I love it.
Yeah.
It's such a great answer. I don't know. Okay, well, what can you describe? Tenseness in my, can you describe it physically? Get the emotional wheel, or a list. Sometimes, you can pick. What about that? What about that? What about that? And it's like a little kid circling the game, the word search game they played when they were kids, because they're just beginning to access something that has been suppressed because it's feminine, because it's girly, because we shouldn't feel that way, because we're men. Stuff it down. Nobody cares anyway.
Yeah. So you talked about moving from this addictive, pathological, self-deprecating behavior pattern and moving towards a healthy expression of sexuality. What does that look? What does it look like? Because I'm sure that's different for everybody, and there's a spectrum. But what is the healthy expression of sexuality?
Great question. You took part of my answer, because I was going to say it's different for everybody. And I want to say it again, because I really, really want to reinforce that, especially for somebody who's in a program where someone's telling you what you should like, do, not like. I really just want to caution your listeners that that's a yellow flag for any of my clients if they're in an environment like that. It is rooted in integrity, joy, pleasure, intentionality, proactive versus reactive.
Sure. Okay.
Physical health, you know how important that is. I don't need to tell you. I'm going to say, guys, you're going to need to add sexual health to that category, unfortunately, because it's getting dark out there.
Yeah.
It's getting dark out there. Because one of the things I've learned, Michael, as I stepped into these communities, everyone I talk to either knows someone who struggled, or every one of their clients struggles. The leadership coach, it goes, oh yeah, they're all struggling, but they're not defining it as their core problem.
Right.
because I haven't yet begun to evaluate the integrity problem, which is pretty huge, right? Like it is lying to your wife about this powerful force going to make your marriage stronger. No. What are the consequences of that lie on how you feel about yourself and how you're showing up? I will never forget, Michael, what a boss said to me back at Hanover before I got fired. I had to go on a trip to meet a very important government official who was running for governor. And my boss said, listen, let me tell you something about this guy. He walks in the front door with his wife, out the back door with his mistress. And he looked me dead in the eye and said something I will never forget. He said, never trust a man who lies to his wife. If he lies to his wife, he'll lie to anyone. And I've thought about that a lot over the years. And I believe that that is a true statement. And so we're not just solving a sex and porn addiction problem. We're solving an integrity crisis. We're solving a masculine energy crisis. Because if you're suppressing that energy down here and it's all in the shadow and it's not, bad things happen.
Yeah. I love this. I love that you keep bringing up this masculine, this concept of masculinity. And what I'm hearing from you, because you haven't said it explicitly, is that it comes from a place of the divine masculine, not what it is to be a physical man, right? The brolic G.I. Joe concept of masculinity, but more so what it is to be a protector, provider, procreator. And I was having this conversation. So I literally walked out of the Dream Team 100 experience and onto a plane to a container full of athletes turned executive and entrepreneur. And like masculinity from both men and women was full on present in that environment. And I remember having a conversation with a girl who's at a consulting firm in New York. She played soccer at Bama. And like having a very like the undertone was a lot of what we're talking about right here, right now, in terms of like the energetics of things. And I told her, try this on and see how it fits. Because she's like between coaches right now. And she left her other coach because she was looking for a more divine, divine feminine coach, because she's trying to get in touch with her femininity. And I asked her, I was like, are you aware that for the divine feminine to show up in its fullest expression, it requires the presence of the divine masculine? And she sat with that for a second. I was like, the thing that you're running from, and I'm not saying that coach is the right for you. It sounds like that ship has sailed for a lot of other reasons. And not necessarily negative ones by any means, but what you're avoiding is actually the thing that you should be looking for.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, no, that sounds really interesting. You know, it's one exists in relation to the other. And so that very nature makes them inexorably intertwined. And, it's easier for me to say that I did all this fucked up shit than it is to say I enjoy watching the My Little Pony cartoon. Okay, doesn't make me, doesn't make me anything less than, but I'll tell you, but me stepping into my masculine energy, the way I defined it was choosing, not letting other people tell me what I'm supposed to like, what I'm not supposed to like.
Right.
Being my authentic self. And in whatever way that looked like. So intentionality is a big, mindful is really important to me, because you're proactive or you're reactive.
Sure. When somebody recognizes that they've been reactive for years, decades, They've been reacting to life. What is the typical response when they come to the realization that they're not that they're going to do anything just yet, but just the realization that there's another way?
They cry.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really powerful moment for me. And I feel really blessed to be able to sit in that space, this realization that what they've been doing isn't serving them, that they have the capacity to let it go, and that there's a path that kind of resonates with them and makes sense to them, that they have control. Because if you can do it a little bit, you can do it a lot of it. That's like that, if you can do it a little bit, you can do it a lot of it. And I just, you keep building on that. It's a very powerful moment because it represents the beginning of a journey towards agency and control and self-actualization and authenticity. And that produces better business leaders, better fathers, better husbands, better community leaders. And Lord knows we need more of that.
Yeah. Brother, I am so glad that we were in the same room together.
Me too.
And I'm so hopeful. I'm so grateful that your mission exists and that we are locked arms, running in parallel, serving greater leadership potential in society. It's very confirming for me that this is the right path. So where, on that note, where can those that are struggling with these issues, where can they find you as the lighthouse and the guidepost to see them through it?
Sure. Thank you, Michael. So my podcast is called Sex Afflictions and Porn Addictions. You will find that on any podcasting service. You can search for me on YouTube, The Mindful Habit System, and my website is mindfulhabithelp.com for more information, free training, look at the different programs. And if you need help, that's what I do best, brother.
I love it, man. I'm grateful for you, brother.
Thank you.
For everybody out there listening, lean on Craig. He's got an amazing practice and his results are undeniable. And for the executive athlete out there listening, if you're struggling to become the fittest leader possible, visit nextlevelpfc.com and we can help guide that path through integrity, courage, and ownership. But it comes from alignment first. We'll see you next time.